Hey everybody. So in this video, I'm going to show you how to get up and running with this is just going to be an HD with a DL251, and we're going to create a new show, how to save, and just overall kind of just get up and going. So we're going to start here with selecting a user profile. So we can change users. So from here, can log into an mCloud account. So if the console's connected online, you can actually load from any person's mCloud account, and that information will get extracted directly to the desk. So we can choose to do that, which I'm going to. Another option is just to create a new user. So if we do create a new user, the section on the left here is going to be something that is just stored locally to the desk. So, you could just do like shop test, create a pin when you just need to do some testing or something. And that doesn't have an associated mCloud account. Or if the desk is connected to the internet again, you could create your nickname, create a pin. And if you tick this box, fill in this information, it'll actually create the mCloud account for you. But for now, we're just going to go back. I'm going to click on myself and hit done. Okay, so it takes us to home, which is our multi-view. And right now we have no shows loaded. So if we look in the top right corner, this is where we'll see our show information. So I can go to Show Manager from here, or I can tap Menu and go to Show Manager. So the first thing we want to do is create a show and be able to store a scene. So on the left-hand side is all the shows that I have in my mCloud account. And this is going to keep the top 25 and anything that I don't want in here. And I can actually do that. Like, how to store. I can archive that. So if I just press and hold, I can remove that. So it takes it from the desk, but it's still stored in my mCloud account. So what we're going to do is we're going to select New. And for this, just going to name it Saving. Keep it simple. So we have that. I'm going to hit Create. So we'll see that we created an account on the left-hand side here. So it went green because it was saved to the desk. It's blue with the refreshing symbol in there. That means that it is sending that information to the cloud. And then once it goes green again, it means that we're now working on the same copy. So it is saved directly to the cloud. So if I tap on that and hit Open, we'll now be presented with our Open Show pop-up. Very important questions being asked for specifically load options. So it's where do we want the information to be taken from? So if we just want it completely from the show file itself, which is what we want to do in this case here, we can have all of our safes set to show. Automate patching we can have selected, and we can have autosave still ticked. But let's say that I'm at a venue and I'm a guest engineer and I'm handing you my show file. Your I/O is already set for your system. Then maybe we don't want to look at that information when it's being imported from either mCloud or USB drive to the desk. So maybe I/O config, I can choose current, which will just choose what is currently on the desk. So although we're not in a show, we still have patching and stuff available. So those are the settings that we can adjust there. So again, for right now, we're going to leave it all as show. And then automate patching is just do we want patching to be able to change if there's a patching difference in the scenes itself, or do we just want when I load scenes, I don't want the physical patches to even be looked at. Same with internal and physical. But we'll keep them all on and hit open. So here we go. Creates a master scene. So a master scene is very similar to Pro Series safe scene. It's basically just right now it's locked. So it's just a scene that is just the desk as it currently is now, which is just blanked. So, and that's a great way to zero the console, is just to load the master scene. So if I navigate up here, select the master and hit go, I now just loaded the master scene, and any information that was saved on the console has been erased, like patching and stuff. So got to be careful, but in this case, I wanted to do that. So now if I just go to store options and go to new scene, I can name it. So I'm just going to name it start. So now we've saved our first scene, and now we've captured the console. So all the parameters, everything has now been captured, which is nothing right now, but now we can start doing things. So maybe we'll first go to patching. So you'll notice that it is locked when we first go to patching. So you'll see these red lines here. If we tap unlock, then they're now unlocked. And so because I'm on an editor, it's going to be a little different, but I'm still going to show you how to do this. So patching, if I break down this as easily as I can, if we collapse all these categories, there's a from side and a to side. So from external, so like a stage box. So that's what we're looking for. So right now it says built-in I/O. That's just showing us the 8 in and outs locally on the desk. And then the console has 2 card option slots in the rear. So right now, this is just an offline editor. There's no cards configured, and they're red because they don't detect anything. But if we go to add new device, so first of all, this is going to show us all of the compatible I/O for the HD. So these are from the 1.5 series to 2.5, 2.3.1, and then as well as the DL4.3.1. Generic. So if we were going to console patch, even that's a Pro series, would be the same thing. That would be a generic patch. And there's even auto detect. So if you already have your stage boxes connected, you can just hit auto and it should just populate what they are. So that's a pretty cool function too. But in this case, we're going to configure a DL251. So I've selected it. It's red because it doesn't detect it actually connected to the desk. It's an offline editor. But we know that we're going to patch it into ports, just local 1 and 2. So I can hit edit, port numbers. So when we see all the different ports here, you're going to see front of house, ports 1 through 4. Those are just the local ports on the rear, the 4 AES50 ports. Then you have Snake 1 through 8. This would be if you had right now a DN9680 connected to a Snake port, you'll get 8 more AES50 ports out of that. And then there's also Snake 2 with 8 more. So that's showing you all the potential ports at our disposal. So right now we're just going to choose front of house port 1 and front of house port 2. And each of those will be carrying 24 channels of signal, bidirectional, for 48 by 16. So here we are. Patching, we can do 1-to-1 patching. So I can tap on channel 1 here. And where's our destination? It's likely going to be an internal input. So I can select this to patch to channel 1. I could certainly do that. Might take a little bit of time. So if I select these, hit unpatch. If I go to channel 1 here and press and hold, or tap and hold, I can select all the channels, and then I can just tap on this first input to auto patch. So now we've patched all 48 inputs to the first 48 channels of the desk. And let's say that our the lines to the PA are also at the stage, so we can use the 251 for outputs as well. What we can then do is go to internal buses, and right now we'll look at all of our outputs. So we have 96 auxes, 24 matrices, as well as our left, right, and monobus. So let's just say that we're going to be using matrix 1, 2, 3, and 4 for our outputs. And if we go back to external, we'll see that we created that DL251. and now I can patch them to outputs 1 through 4. So we've patched our inputs and as well as the outputs to that stage box. And if you need to do, something else, let's say we didn't want to do that, we wanted to use them for monitors instead, I can reselect these, unpatch, go to the auxes and go, you know what? Oops. Let's select all like that. You can take all 16 auxes to the 16 outputs of the 251. And maybe our lines are going to be actually sourced from front of house. So I can come back to buses, say left, right, and mono. I used matrix before, but let's say we choose those. And we can come right out like the built-in out on the back. Outputs 1, 2, and 3. So that's just a quick and easy way to patch stage box inputs. Now if we go back to home, so home is considered multi-view. So this top part is where we can navigate. So I can navigate the surface. So if I kind of give you an example here, let's look at inputs. So if I select this, we'll look at inputs 1 through 8, 9 through 16. I can scroll here and you'll see all of our inputs. When we pull this tray up, it's pretty cool. You can actually see the faders as well. So right now we're just looking at the faders associated to area A. Bring that down. This is where we can see our VCA groups and access them. So if I just press and hold, that's where we can start putting in channels to populate VCAs, as well as pop groups, etc. So I'll close that. But the next workflow view to go over is going to be Mancino, because you can do a lot of stuff in this page. It's really, really cool. So right now we're looking at all 144 inputs on the left-hand side. We're going to see the VCAs and our pop groups up here. And this section is whatever we're looking at here. So if I select channel 1, here's the EQ for it, the compressor, the gate. But I can also name it right here as well. So I can go, okay, this is going to be kick in. If I hit enter, it goes right to input 2. So let's do kick out. Oops. We'll do snare top. Snare bottom. Hat. Top 2. Top 3. And then it's going to be some overheads. So 9 and 10 are overheads. Okay. So I've named them, and now I can take these and I can select all of them here. I missed that one. If I want to name or color them, I can now just color them red. And if I want to put them in a VCA group, I can just press and hold right there, and now I can just swipe and put them in there. Or if I wanted to do, kick, snare, hat group, wood, brass, I can do that as well. But for this, I'm just going to throw them all in just a drum group. And we'll go right here, name it drums, also color it red, hit enter, close. So I can do that from here. Let's say that we're setting up our auxes for the first time. So if I can click and hold, and now I can select every single channel, navigate to sends. So I know that I'm actually, in this scenario, I'm doing monitors from front of house. So let's say it's not too bad. We're just going to do 4 floor wedges and 4 stereo IMs. Okay. So I can just select these right here, and by default all of the outputs are end of chain, which is post fader. So what I can do is I can do post dynamics. That would be a pre-fader. I can just tap pre-fader and that will do the same thing. But you have all your options here if you want them to be, post EQ, post insert, etc. So right now we'll just have them set to pre. And I'll deselect those, and then now with stereo, so let's say we have 4 stereo items, I can actually select these. And actually, before I do that, let's do this. I can look at my auxes here, and I go, okay, so these ones and these ones are going to be stereo. So if I go back to this line check option, I can make them stereo here. Well, first we're going to make their panning mirror. So let's change the configuration of those. Now I can go back to my inputs, select everything, and sends, select those, and can do the same thing. So pretty easy to do that. I can create groups. You can do subgroups here. So let's say that maybe I don't want all these channels going to that, but you get the idea. So Mancino's really cool for just setting up and doing a lot of other things. The next work view. So if we go back to home, general navigation of things are going to be used in these widgets. So when we're in multi-view, I can look at an input channel and an output channel simultaneously in both widgets. So whatever I'm selecting currently or what I'm selecting last is what will populate. So right now I've selected an input, but now if I move away and I select an output, now you'll see the focus is on the output section. So we'll go back to an input. Here's our kick in. And on this left-hand side, we'll see configuration. This is where we can see the gains. We need to engage fan and power, the polarity. If this channel is going to be an aux return, so if we're patching to a reverb and returning that, it will automatically put that in aux return mode. Not applicable on our kick channel here. Input delay, your pan, of course, monobus level, linking, so linking options. Pretty cool linking options here. This is on a per channel basis. So if you want to have your kicks, if you have a kick in, kick out, and you wanted to have them linked together, for example, but you don't want anything but faders, then you could deselect everything, and obviously they can be EQ'd differently and also everything. Or if you mute one, it'll mute both. So that can all be configured right here. Some patching. You can see the direct outs, at what tap point we want that to be taken from. Options, the different processing order. So maybe if we want to have the EQ to be before dynamics, I can now just move that along here, or have my insert in between. I can do that on a per channel basis. Next is just our EQ. We have gate, compressor. Each channel compressor has different modes. So this is taken directly from Pro Series. So right now we're in corrective. So there's corrective, adaptive, creative, and vintage. Go right back to corrective. They just have different flavors, different detection circuits that just operates just a little bit differently. Filter through those and see which ones you like. Sidechain abilities. So here's your sidechain source and the parameters for the compressor, and of course the on and off. Effects. So right from the channel, we can do inserts. So Pro Series users should be rejoicing, because now doing an insert takes so much less time than it did before. Whether that is just inserting a compressor on a channel or doing a send and return for a reverb, we'll get into that. But this is how easy it is. So I can go right to my kick, I can hit add, and it brings up our different slots. I can choose any one of these, but let's go to the first one, new effect. And maybe on the kick, I need to do some stuff to kind of make it sound a little bit better. So maybe we'll throw on Wave Designer. Add effect. As soon as I do that, it's now inserted, turned on, and ready to go. So it took a lot less time than we would have to in Pro Series. So while we're looking here, this right-hand side, right now we're looking at one-shot pot. This is a really cool tool. Amongst everything else in this different this side menu, You can look at like your channel view, your sends overview. So similar in Pro Series. But one-shot pot is special because if you have auto engaged, anything that pops up, so for example, this effect, its parameters will pop up right here where you can use the right-hand side assignables to control them if you wanted to have control via the tactile surface. If you don't have auto engaged, what's also cool is you can say, you know what, I want to be creative, and even if I'm looking at something else, I want to be able to change the attack of this. So if I tap that, I can now lock that feature in, and now it is just always there until I remove it. So I can be going about my business, I can minimize this, go on to something completely else, and that feature is still there. But overall, and then the nice thing too is if you engage auto, bring something back, populates it, but the information is still saved underneath that of what you have committed already. So for now, we'll just leave auto on. But yeah, so you can have up to 3 inserts on each channel, and with our delay compensation, those 3 inserts can still be aligned in time. So they can be phase aligned, time coherent, or phase coherence and time aligned. So I'll get into that either in this video later on or on another one that goes into the delay management, delay compensation management. And then to round out the section here, we can go to sends. So we're selected on this kick channel so we can see where it's going. It's not going anywhere here. But if I wanted to send a little bit of kick to, say, these stereo IMs, I was going to turn it on like we would have to in Pro Series, but actually, if I just reach for the send level, start turning it up, the buses automatically turn on. So really cool feature, and can't tell me how many times I have forgotten to do that in the past with Pro Series. So there they are, shows that they're pre-fader and all set. I'll deselect those. Same thing for outputs. So looking at aux2, can look at aux1 here. Same thing, configuration. If I want to make a subgroup, I can just turn this into, say, group mode. So maybe I want to have aux1 and 2 be, well, let's take it off group. We want to have them for floor wedges. But let's say that, 13 and 14. If I select 13 here, and let's make that like a stereo group. I can link them, and I'm going to have the panning be mirror, so that when I move this left on this side, it moves the right mirrored. So if I hard pan those, configuration, we'll just turn group mode on. If it's going to go to the stereo bus, I want the panning of whatever I do here to also feed the stereo bus, so I'll engage send pan link as well. And if I think that I'm going to be sending this bus to another bus, which I might, I'm going to just turn this into a flexi aux. And that gives us aux-to-aux mixing. So done quite a bit of stuff here on aux 13 and 14. But here we go. So we've done that. Let's move over to channel view. So channel view does the same thing that we just saw in multi-view, just now exploded. So whatever we're currently looking at, we just have a larger view of those options now. So if I, let's say, select my kick again, right now configuration is selected, and this is the blown up section of that. So I have a much larger view of the pan, same with the processing orders and the pickoff points. You see a lot more stuff. If I have any safes engaged, they would show up here. This is where it's going to be, handy, especially on a nice big 21-inch touchscreen on the console. For EQ, they'll feel nice and smooth to adjust them there. So if I do a bunch of EQ, but I don't like it, I can just press and hold. So a lot of these buttons that have a red outline means that you have to press and hold because it's a destructive task that's happening. Something is going to happen when you do that. That can't be undone. So we've just flattened that. Another unique thing in the EQ section here is this phase. So if you're familiar with all pass filters, We're going to go ahead and turn that on. So we're going to press and hold to engage all paths. So like the polarity button that is, if we take it to analog terms, it's just flipping your positive and negative pins, resulting in the opposite waveform. So let's say that you have we're on kick in and kick out, but they're just too far apart to be 100% or 180 degrees out of phase. What we can do is we can turn on all paths here, and you have two phase adjust frequencies. So being that it's a kick, we're going to make sure that we have low selected, and we can either control this via 180 degrees or 90 degrees. So it's mostly in phase. It's mostly there, but just a little out. So if we keep it at 90, I can now just swipe this and just listen till it starts sounding better. Or the way I do it to where it sounds really, really bad, and then I just go in here and then flip the polarity. So either one. But there's our EQ. Same thing, gate compressors, just larger view of that. Turn the gate on to make that light up. Same with effects. Sends, just larger view of that. Next we have front of house view, and this view is actually not on the top toolbar by default. So if I were to take a quick tangent, if I select menu here, we can now customize the toolbar. So one thing I've wanted to do actually is take out the naming page. Just because of Mancino, I just don't seem to use that function. And naming was the only way to do that in Pro Series, so a lot of users still keep that, and if they've done it for a long time, they'll continue doing that. But I'm actually going to remove this. So it's just, I can just press and hold, get a little jiggle, bring it in, drops it out. And I'm always going to the effects rack, so I'm going to put that up there instead. So let me just find it. Expansion cards, effects rack. If I just tap that, I'm just going to throw that right back up there. So we can easily customize that. And like this front of house view, again, this is not a default one. So it's one that you can grab and throw up there for different work views. So I can just tap anywhere to get away. So front of house view is really cool because it shifts around the widgets. So right now we have just a start, looking at an output and an input. But if I pull up this bottom tray, and let's say I had a busy mix going on, and in fact, once I start saving, I'm going to bring one up, and you can see how kind of useful this is. That now I can look at an input, I can navigate right here, and I can see everything that's going on. So when I have signal coming in, we'll see the gain reduction, you'll see the gates, you'll see the EQ, you'll see just a lot of stuff happening here, and be able to just tap to the different sections to get right to that parameter. So really, really neat there. And if you do need to get to your automation, you can just minimize that, make some changes and move on. So right now, we haven't really done anything much yet. Well, we have named things. So I guess we've done a little bit. So let's go ahead and we're just going to save to current scene. So we're still on start, but now we've just done a little bit more than what we have done before. So we'll just add to that. Console view, just another workflow view or work view. I like to use this as kind of like an inspection function because visually you can see metering on everything. I can see all of my 144 inputs. I can see all 123 outputs, access to my VCAs, access to the pop groups. On the right hand side, you have macros. So if I were to tap and hold there, I can see the fader locations for everything. I can look at the gain reduction as well as, the gain attenuation, as well as the gain reduction of every channel. Another cool function when you're on the desk and you're in console overview is if you actually are still using the control surface. I know we always talk about the screen, but if you're still using the EQ and your actual tactical controls, they're all, of course, touch sensitive. If you tap on that, or if you grab a pot, on this right-hand side, the channel parameters will populate. So you'll see the EQ when you make adjustments. You'll see the gate and comp, etc. So, and then as soon as you let go off the surface, then that portion disappears. So another cool work view there. And then just to round out the different work views, if we go to automation, if your shows are automation heavy, so theater or houses of worship or just big tours, you might want to consider working in automation. You would have all of your scenes would show up here. You have quick access to all of these for hitting next and go. You can ignore safes, so just more parameters than you would just on this top portion up here. So a lot of stuff that is available to those that are heavy into automation, as well as looking at events and adding them and all sorts of stuff. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to close out of what we're currently working on, and I'm going to open up just a little bit noisier of a show. So this Apprehended, these are tracks that are available online for free, and they're pretty cool. So I'm going to open up this show, keep everything to the show, hit open. So we have a lot more stuff going on in here. You can see that there's notes, and I can just go right to the top here. I think the last scene that has a lot of stuff happening is going to be this scene 16. So I'll just hit go. Takes me there. And here we go. So a little bit more stuff than just a blank scene that we were on before, or blank show. So here's my EQ. This is definitely like metal. So there's that clicky, getting the click and getting the low end from that. If I pull this up, we can just see all the colors now. We can see more things happening. If I am looking at VCAs, there's the kick snare hat, there's my toms, cymbals, and if I need to get to the faders, I can view them here. Bass, there's a good amount of guitars, synth, vocals, effects, etc. Mancino kind of helps out a little bit too now when we're looking at things. So if I'm in sends here, and maybe I'll mess around with these ones that I know that I haven't done anything with. If I deselect all of those and go, okay, I need more drums. So I can just highlight all of these, go right to that aux, and be able to go send level, turn them on. Another useful feature is, so let's say that these right here are linked. If I want to send these to both of these, here's the send level for them. But if you do the changeover, there's now the pans. If you needed to take things and pan them, in this bus, we could just do the changeover right there. But for those of you that are familiar with Midas Pro 2, specifically with MCAs, and to quote a good friend of mine, MCAs are one of the coolest functions that nobody knows about. So MCAs are monitor control associations, and what's really cool is doing just that. So instead of saying like, "Hey, I need some more guitar," and just highlighting the things to do that, I can deselect that and just go, "Okay, cool, you need guitar." I can just put them in a VCA like I would if I was mixing. Right there, if I choose the VCA for guitars, it highlights them right there, and now I can go to the buses that they needed them and begin to turn them up. More vocals, okay. Vox, not gonna do that. There's a lot of stuff happening there, but you get the idea. Navigation. So we want to rearrange the desk. We want to rearrange our center assign section. This is where we can do that. So as you see, there are 5 different modes here that are green. These are the default layouts that the desk comes with, and this is how the channels populate the surface. And it may be kind of difficult to explain this in the editor, and I might give up here, but I'll show you at least how to configure that. Just don't know if I can visually show you when things take effect. But here we go. So right now, you have 3 different surface level options, layout options that you can choose at any one point in time. So on this right-hand side, this is showing us all of our workflows. So from automation, channel view, console view, front of house, and multi-view. So everything up here is right here. And when they're all selected on one surface layout, which happens to be Pro Series mode, which Pro Series will have your inputs on area A, VCAs and outputs on your 3rd bank, and then your 4th bank with 4 is your masters. Now, HD24 mode, for example, has 3 area A's, so whatever you're currently looking at, so if I'm in HD24 mode, but I'm selecting my inputs, I would now have 24 inputs across these 3 bays with my masters. So this would be like on a full-size Pro 2 with the extend button engaged. And if I were to look at outputs, so still in HD24, if I look at outs, then it would show me 24 outs. Or go to VCAs, 24 VCAs. You get the picture. VCA mode, if we were to engage that, we would have our... it would take inputs on area A, and then we'll give you 12 VCA, so it turns the masters into the VCA function. Modern mode will give you a mix of view between inputs, outputs and VCAs. So outputs will populate on the left-hand side and VCAs on the right. And then theater will have inputs on area A here, outputs on bank 2, and then VCAs on 3, as well as masters. So those are the defaults, but now we want to customize them. So if I choose this new layout, it shows us what is custom right here, and I can hit edit. And this is what we're currently looking at. So the desk itself has 4 bays, or banks. So right now, there's a custom bank 1, 2 VCAs in area B. Nothing has been populated, so if we do a custom bank, this will allow us to do whatever we want. I can take a kick and move it to this one right here. I can have an output right next to it. It's freely whatever you want it to be. But I think a lot of people just want maybe just a little tweak, for example. So what's cool is I can use, say, area A. So right now we're in like a Pro Series mode, VCA outputs, and bank 4 can be area B. We could do something like that. So if I were to store that, then we can put specific things in area B, and then when that's engaged, it'll show up on the master side. And if I wanted that to be my default workflow, I would change every single workflow, or if I wanted that to be my default surface layout, and I would choose all of my workflows to follow this surface. But again, I'm just going to keep this at Pro Series. And overall, that's kind of just overall getting around. I mean, we've saved some stuff. If I wanted just to save what I've done now, I can just go to, I'll probably choose scene here and just go to new scene. So it puts it right underneath, and yeah, scene 18 is fine. So if we go back to, Show Manager, we'll see that we saved there. There's the white icon, and that is saving it to the cloud. So anytime we'll go over something here. So autosave. When autosave's turned on, it means that whenever we save something, so I'll actually just do save current state. So right up here, we'll see that it's now going to, like I said, already is saved. So it's saved to the show file, and then when autosave's turned on, it will then take the show file that is saved to the desk and push it to the cloud to make sure that that version is up to date with the version that we're working on right now. And okay, let's go over routing and effect real quick. So let's say that on my kick here, I'm hopping around, but let's go back and open up that other basic show. Saving. We'll open that. We'll open it. I'm going to load the master to wipe it. And then we'll load the start scene. So go back out. Here's a kick, so we just kind of left off doing a few things. But let's say that we know that on aux1, we're going to put a reverb on that. So if we go to the effects rack, and you'll see these brackets here in brackets of 3. This is for VSS4. So I'm going to load VSS4, which is a very highly acclaimed reverb unit. So this comes from the TC Electronics System 6000 that has been highly regarded for a very long time for being amongst the very, very best reverb algorithms money can buy. So this is actually in the console. It's free. So what we're going to do is we have the choice of it being an insert or send return. So we will do a send return function. Going to choose, we'll do aux1, but I'm actually going to make that stereo. So I'm going to link them. So we'll do aux1 and 2. And then we'll have that return on, let's do input 49 and 50. That seems just fine. So if I choose 49 here, also do link. And I could do stereo. So the difference between link and stereo is you'll just have 2 faders that are linked, where stereo is just a stereo channel on 1 fader. I just like seeing 2 faders. So that's why when I go to do this and use link, it just makes more sense to me. So I've chosen them. And now we just need to press and hold to physically assign them. They've been assigned, and we can see that right here. So aux1 and 2, and the send return here. And if I just tap on this instance, this is now where we can control it. So if I go back to home, aux1, I can tap right here if I wanted, and just go like, vox verb to left. If I wanted to do this, I could do vox verb right. And we want to have them panned as well. So, and then if I pan the channel to these buses, then that will follow in the reverb as well, because there's stereo inputs and stereo out. And then I can go to channel 49, I think is where we put it. So if I select 49, go to configuration here, you actually see that aux return mode is engaged because it knows that it is a return from an aux. So we will just hard pan that left and right, and now I can name them vox verb. Oops. Return. Jeez. There we go. And that's essentially it for kind of just get up and going. Again, then maybe we're a little past start now that we started adding effects. I could do like a new scene. Scene 1, we could always name that again or rename that, but we've done a little bit more than just the patch. Now we've named a few more things, so keep that on scene 1, and then that's it. All right, guys. Well, I think I'll good enough for today, and I'm going to go through a bunch of other functionality here soon. So bear with me, and hopefully you found this useful. All right. Thank you.